Hey, welcome back to Naval News with SubBrief. We're going back over to Iran today, where we're going to talk about the Strait of Hormuz and everything that's been going on between our two countries. Let's begin with comments from the president earlier this week.
We've won this. This war has been won.
We won.
The only one that likes to keep it going is the fake news. I mean,
fake news. Why? Why do you like war so much?
Like, we're not winning a war where they have no Navy and they have no Air Force. And
they can't fight back. We're beating the hell out of them.
They have planes flying over Tehran and other parts of their country. They can't do a thing about it.
Not a damn thing.
Instance,
nothing.
If I want to take down that power plant, that
that beautiful
big,
one,
powerful
the
power
boob,
plant, they
the
can't
big
do
one.
a thing about it.
Nothing.
It's like, take me. That's all they can do.
We could have our way with their power plant if we wanted to. This is what he's threatening.
News or NBC fake news.
And then he goes on about the fake news.
It's a close battle.
Okay, I bring this up because I want you to remember what the president is saying here. He's absolutely right about winning the military fight, but Iran is not engaged in a military fight with us at all. They're engaged in a totally different type of warfare called economic warfare. In fact, they're leaning heavily into the economic warfare side of it and not the military side at all, because their military is being absolutely dismantled. So this week, earlier, go all the way back to Monday, which seems like forever ago, Iran essentially closed the Strait of Hormuz by announcing that no ship would have safe passage initially. And I believe that they used that opportunity to mine the Strait of Hormuz with sea mines. Now, the U.S. has not confirmed this, but I think that's why now the Q route, the shipping route, goes all the way up close to Iran before going back into the international shipping route again. And during this route, all non-hostile vessels are allowed to pass through this route if they pay a toll, a fee, a bribe to the IRGC, and in some cases even allow for inspection. So non-hostile friendly countries, oil that's going to India and China and other places that are not the United States or Israel are allowed to pass if they pay this fee and submit themselves to inspection. Additional vessels coming, shipping oil from Craig Island and other, export depots that are carrying Iranian oil are allowed to go straight through, but they have to use this route. The reason why is the tip of the peak right there, I believe, is mined with sea mines. And we're going to find that out whenever we run our minesweepers through, whenever this thing eventually wraps up. So Iran's engaged in this economic warfare. Our response to this, the president's response to this, was to remove sanctions on Iranian oil and Russian oil. So not only can they sell their oil on the market now, they can sell it at market value instead of a discounted shadow fleet price. So they're making more money per barrel now than they ever have. Iran is doing that. So we've really played into their hands by not fighting this economic fight with tit-for-tat attacks and stopping the flow of oil. We're actually encouraging the flow of oil by letting them sell it at fair market value. This doesn't make any sense to me, but this is what we're doing. We've actually encouraged the Iranians to keep this status quo, what we have today, current, which means no peace talks. They have no incentive to negotiate for peace because they're making cash hand over fist selling Iranian oil while stopping everybody else's oil, unless it's a neutral oiler that can pay a fee, additional funds to the regime, make more money, and let them go about their business. This is a huge win for the Iranians. And from a military point of view, this is called escalation dominance. Iran has achieved escalation dominance. They were able to escalate things to a point to where their opponent, us, will not respond. So now that means that they can dictate terms of peace, and there is no incentive at all to even have peace talks, serious peace talks, if they're not only winning, but making more money in this state than they are in any previous state or going back 47 years. This is a huge moment for Iran. And until something changes in that equation, I don't see this ending. I see this status quo going forward. Like I said, something did happen last night where 2 Chinese tankers were not allowed passage and were turned around. Don't know what went on with that, but something recently has just changed, and I don't know any more about that. Now, tonight, by the time you see this video, the markets will be closed, and that means President Trump, this is when he likes to take big, bold action. So we'll see what he actually does. But let's real quick confirm that not only did the Iran say this before the United Nations and inform them of this policy, when Reuters interviewed or asked the Iran's foreign minister spokesman about this policy, he said absolutely they are charging a fee, a toll for non-hostile oil tankers to pass through their new route. So that is confirmed that's happening. Now, let's take a real quick look at the epic fury, the military battle that the United States is absolutely, dominating with right now. We're eliminating, the goal is, let's review the goals. We're eliminating their ballistic missile manufacturing, storage, and ability to launch ballistic missiles. I include drones with that. We're eliminating their Iranian Navy, which is essentially dismantled at this point. There is the occasional small boat that goes out and shoots a rocket at a tanker, which is all it takes, by the way, to close the Strait of Hormuz, have one or two of those, and no one's going to go through the strait while that's going on. But that's also the IRGC Navy. That's not the Iranian Navy, and so that's not one of the three pillars or three goals that the Pentagon has. Now, we have been taking out the IRGC Navy adjacent to the Iranian Navy, kind of along the way, but definitely not a priority. And then finally, cripple centers of gravity for the military action. And a big center of gravity right now, as of this week anyway, is the Strait of Hormuz. Once they effectively closed it down and allowed Iranian tankers to go through, that became the focus again. So the focus went from bombing deep inside Iran, which is still happening. They've moved the focus to the shoreline, where we're using A-10s and Apache helicopters to take out these small boats that are going and attacking the ships. And I think it's already too late. I warned you 3 weeks ago, that we had to get the mine-laying vessels, like the submarines. And we didn't get those on night one. And now we have probably sea mines in the Strait of Hormuz, I think. But let's take a look at what the Air Force has been doing. We're bombing them back to the medieval era by bombing their castles that they're hiding in here. That's a freaking bulldozer. What's this? This is another castle, another fort they're hiding in. Those things are all gone. That's a front loader right there. We can't even find tanks anymore. We're destroying heavy equipment. That's a bulletin board. What the hell? We're bombing their marketing and propaganda at this point because we can't find any more military targets. We've hit over 10,000 targets in 4 weeks. That's incredible success. And we're just running out of, focuses or centers of gravity, if you will, besides the Strait of Hormuz to drop bombs on. This is a fantastic footage of a ammo depot somewhere in Iran that we drop a bomb on. And watch the secondaries here. That might be the largest explosion I've ever seen. That's huge. Anyway, so great success taking out massive amounts of ordnance at a time. This is what's keeping them from attacking more than they already are with drones and ballistic missiles. This might have been cruise missile storage. I don't know. But whatever it was, it is gone now. Now, like I said, Iran is fighting a different war. They're not fighting this military war because they really can't. There's not much that they can do to respond at this point other than the occasional surface-to-air, shoulder-launched missile against an F-18, like we saw recently that missed. But Israel recognizes that they are in an economic war now with Iran. And that's why, going back over a week now, they did bomb the South Pars oil field and its processing facility there. And this freaked everybody out, including the President of the United States. This was a pivotal moment. Israel understands how to fight a war, and they're willing to make sacrifices, including pay higher prices at the pump, pay higher gas prices in order to fight and win a war. The United States, apparently, our leadership is not willing to do that. So whenever Israel went in, and apparently without notifying the Americans, bomb this field, they were told to cut it out, told to stop. And that's where Iran took the advantage away from the United States. That's the pivotal shift where Iran realized, oh, we have escalation dominance. Iran does. They can go and attack oil fields, refineries, storage facilities in other Gulf states. They even attacked a desalination plant in the early days of the war, and there was no like response until Israel did this. Now, because Trump said don't do that, that gives escalation dominance to the Iranians, where they can dictate terms of negotiated peace. Some kind of ceasefire. They could say, hey, either you accept our terms, or guess what we're going to do? We're going to keep bombing the oil infrastructure and stopping oil tankers, attacking them with our small boats if we have to, and price of oil is going to stay high. And Donald Trump, for whatever reason, he finds himself in this war, a war of choice, and will not fight it on the economic level. Craig Island should be leveled right now. Craig Island is a huge depot. Export terminals all around this island can move 5 million barrels of product a day on board a ship, and we haven't touched it. We have we've relieved the sanctions on all oil at sea on board ships right now, and they're not supposed to be loading more oil onto Iranian vessels, but they are. Windward has photos of 2 ships at Craig Island this week in violation of GLU, which is the sanction relief that we gave to Iran and Russia to sell their oil on the open market to keep global oil prices, down below $100 a barrel anyway. They're loading oil from this island in violation of that, and we're not doing anything about it, which means Iran doesn't care. We're not going to attack them anyway. They don't need to pay attention to our sanctions. They don't need to pay attention to us because they know there's no consequence for loading and selling oil. And now they dictate who gets out of the Persian Gulf. And whether it's friendly or they pay a fee, they're not letting any of the oil tankers with Kuwaiti, Saudi Arabian oil, Bahrain, Qatar. They're not letting any of those tankers out because we have military bases in those countries. Israel understands that, processing plants like this one that process the South Pars natural gas field are critical targets. Iran has already targeted LNG condensing facilities that were owned by American companies in the GCC states already. Something like, I think it was Qatar, said they lost $20 billion worth of facility in one attack, and it's going to take years to rebuild that. And that's owned by like Exxon and Chevron. So it was a very precise attack on an American-funded, American-operated LNG facility. This one here is the Iranian counterpart to that. We have not touched it. This place should be on fire right now. And I brought this up a week ago. The Jask pipeline and export terminal there in Jask is on the south side of the strait, still not touched, still able to load oil onto ships. And instead of stopping these ships and sinking these ships, we're actually removing sanctions on these ships, letting Iran to sell them at market value, making more money per barrel than they've made in 47 years because they've had sanctions the entire time. This is such a fumble by the United States. If they want to fight an economic war, well, we either surrender or we fight an economic war. Those are your choices. Instead, we're fighting a military war and winning, and then going and making announcements about, hey, we're absolutely dominating them while we're getting owned economically. This is what every Iranian tanker should look like right now. We should be smoking them, and we're not. So what's next? What's happening about the time you see this, about the time this video releases? Well, we have the United States Marine Corps in theater right now. Actually, they're in Diego Garcia. They were. If they plan on moving out from Diego Garcia, they would have already got back on board the ship and moved by the time you see this. But because they're in Diego Garcia, there is an opportunity to not put the Marines back on board the ship, get as much gear as they can carry into some airplanes and transport them somewhere else. So this could be a big misdirection, something similar to what we saw in the Gulf War 1991 with Schwarzkopf's plan with the big left hook. In that case, 1991, he used the Marine Corps as a diversion, where they repeatedly in their amphibious landing craft went towards the shore but never landed to distract the Iraqis in that case, while the Army did a strong left hook and then came in from the southwest. Phenomenal plan, worked like a charm. War was over in like 100 hours, the ground war was. So we could maybe move them in. We could do the landings like Marines are trained to do, I don't know where they would do them. Keshem Island. I doubt if they'd go all the way to Kark Island, especially if the strait is mined the way that I think it is. I think that this is a huge mistake, though, because anytime we put boots on the ground, or if we use the 82nd Airborne and drop them in, how are we going to resupply them and support them? And how much focus is that going to take away from the other objectives we're trying to achieve? You know, we can't even open the Straits of Hormuz right now because we're so busy accomplishing all the other pillars CENTCOM has sent. If we put boots on the ground and have to defend the Marines and the Army as well, that may be more than we can do at the same time. We're going to have to maybe not do one of the three pillars. Maybe we take some attention away from the ballistic missile manufacturing and storage facilities to protect those troops on the ground. I think boots on the ground in this case does not reopen the strait, because you can keep the strait closed with just the threat of a drone attack that can come from deep inside Iran. We're not moving the Marines hundreds of miles into Iran. We're not capable of connecting that logistics train safely. It's a very mountainous territory. We don't have enough people to do that. That certainly is not the plan. So if we put boots on the ground on islands, on the beach, that's not going to stop the drone attacks. It may stop shore-based small boat attacks, probably, but it's not going to stop all the attacks. And to open up the Straits of Hormuz on top of for ships that have, high explosive, product on board, flammable product, you need to stop all the attacks. And boots on the ground, boots on the beach does not stop those. So I think we're about to make a monumental mistake, compounding the mistake of not fighting the economic war the way Israel saw weeks ago. They saw that because Iran had escalated to it, or shifted really, to an economic war, that's the war we got to fight. We got to bomb the oil fields. We got to bomb their oil tankers. We got to bomb the electrical facilities, the power plants. We have to bomb the desalination facilities. We have to do all those things to inflict enough pain to escalate to the point to where they then come to peace talks seriously and talk about ending this. And until we do that, this could go on for a long time. And nobody wants that. And what concerns me the most is this gentleman right here, the President of the United States, apparently doesn't see it himself, which he should. He's not being told. And if he is being told, he's not listening. And the person telling him, which should be General Kane and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, are not convincing him. Those two gentlemen need to step up their game and let this guy know what kind of fight he's in, because he's not fighting an economic war. He's fighting a military war and winning that war while losing the economic war that's happening around him, that's burning down the oil markets. So we will see what happens this weekend, and we'll talk about it next Friday. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye. Man. Guy's a nut.